And so it begins. Here we are, live at lunch, getting started. Hope you're having a beautiful day. Hope everything is in motion. This is week 4 of our studies on stewardship. Week 4 on our studies on stewardship. And the question is really simple this week. We've thrown it out there. We put it in the mix and letting people know. The question goes like this. Yo, how much can you really handle from God? How much can you really handle from God? Is it something that you're able to do in your stewardship, or are you really fumbling and bumbling around and messing up and trying to find out what's happening around here? Check it out. This is definitely one for the ages because we're getting into some serious depth with stewardship as we talk about this today, and the ability to handle more or much with God. Remember, it comes down to faith. It comes down to faith. If you've been faithful with the least, right, you can have more committed to you. If you haven't been faithful with the least, then who's going to commit to your trust the true riches? That was the Lord in his parable. Listen to this. You can't serve both money and the Lord. You can't serve both money and your master. One of them will override the other. And so we definitely need to look at this. And when we look at this, I'm back at this question. How much can you really handle from God? If God blessed you, how much can you really handle from him? And let's move into this, right? This is the question. How much can you really handle from God? Well, let's take it in all seriousness. The blessing of the Lord makes you rich, and he has no sorrow with it. The blessing of the Lord makes you rich, and he has no sorrow with it. What God provides makes us rich. What God provides makes us rich. And we know it's of God and from God because guess what? He has no sorrow with it. There's no pain with it. There's no struggle with it. As we get into this and an example of stewardship later, we'll see that even when you come from a background that's rooted in pain, you still can go beyond that and do more than people expect of you because you're not living out that self-fulfilling prophecy of it all being negative. That's part of the problem that we have too. And so we can't get this blessing from the Lord if we're not in the right position and we don't have the capacity. We don't have the capacity. And we're going to be talking about that a little bit today about capacity. And capacity deals with a lot. And I know we talk about it in general terms. Capacity is about how much you can contain or hold. In this case, it's about how much you can handle, how much you can manage, how much you can deal with. And when we talk about capacity, in this sense, I really want us to look at this from another perspective, which is the capacity challenge for us as Christians. On average, part of our biggest challenge as Christians is having the ability to create, generate a greater amount of capacity for compassion to be interwoven into our stewardship. Compassion to be interwoven into our stewardship. That means that we can look out for other people. Right? That means we can be concerned about other people. That means our hearts will go out to other people. Let's stop by a place called Philadelphia, if we could. Let brotherly love continue is what the text says, right? Let brotherly love continue. Do we have the capacity to do that and still be blessed without having an interference with it. Go back to the commandments. Can I have what God has given me, be content with that, right? Be content with that and not covet what my neighbor has. See, that's the struggle that some people have. They can't be content because they're struggling with coveting. They're struggling with desiring still what others have while taking their eye off of what God has already given them. And so when we go back to the blessing of the Lord, right? He makes one rich without adding any sorrow to it. What's within us to not be concerned about the next person, but what's in us to be coveting what the next person has is the problem. We've got to be more geared towards compassion and concern than coveting. We've got to be more geared towards being content with what we have than coveting what others have, right? You may not be satisfied with what you got, but that doesn't mean jump on board and start grabbing and scheming and trying to get what someone else has. That's the problem. And so let brotherly love continue, right? Let that superride and override some of the other things that are going through your mind and coming upon your spirit. Let brotherly love continue. And in essence, that means let it continue through you. Let it continue through you. If we can see that. All right. And so that compassion needs to be interwoven into our capacity. And our capacity really breaks down to how much or how much more we can handle from God. And our lack of capacity or having a limited capacity, those can get in the way of us doing anything with what God has given us, because we're struggling with what we have and we can't handle more. We can't take on more because we lack the capacity to take on more. We're limited in what we already can take on and what we already have. And so why would God give us more? Why would God give us more? And so when we talk about capacity, here is an example, a biblical example of capacity when we look at 1 Chronicles chapter 4, verses 9 and 10. Many of you are familiar with this. This is Jabez, all right, from Jabez's prayer. And let's take this from the New Century Version, and then I'll give you another piece from the New King James Version. There was a man named Jabez who was respected more than his brothers. His mother's named him Jabez because she said, I was in much pain when I gave birth to him. Now, what we get out of this is who he is. This is his standing, his position among his brothers. And this is the explanation of his name. Now, what we get a little further in the footnotes is the Hebrew for his name meant pain. The Hebrew for his name meant pain. And to add to that, the New King James footnote says literally his name was he will cause pain. He will cause pain. So not only was he a pain to bring forth at birth, but then there's this prophetic naming of this child to where, hey, he's going to bring pain throughout life. There's a continuum, right? It's on the continuum of he's going to continue to bring pain. Pain is going to be what he's going to be associated with. And so that's his name. That's what he's walking around with. But here it is, the person that's named prophetically Jabez, associated with pain, is more respected than his brothers, than his brethren, than his kinsmen, those who are around him. Right? So he's already defeating what should be weighing against him, that name of pain, that name of being associated with pain. He's already defeating that just by what he's exuding in order to get that and garner that respect above and beyond his brethren. I hope you're hearing me on this, and I hope it makes sense. But that's how he was named, but this is his position and status within his community, within his family. Stick with me on this. This is going to make sense as we go further, and I hope you're able to see it, and it makes sense. Boom. Jabez prayed to the God of Israel, please do good things for me and give me more land. Stay with me. Don't let anyone hurt me. Then I won't have any pain. Right? Notice that. Then I won't have any pain. And God did what Jabez had asked. Right? Then I won't have any pain. I won't, not only will I not be associated with this, but my experience will turn around and I won't experience this on this level myself, because you're with me, because you're protecting me, because I'm in your hands, right? Powerful. That's a powerful prayer for a person to say, Lord, give me more. I'm ready to take on more, but I'm asking for more and for you to be with me more. I'm asking for more and for you to guide me with it. Jabez is exhibiting the capacity, in God's view, to handle more. He's already respected beyond his brethren, but he's exhibiting the capacity to handle more. Right? Look at it in this sense. Look at it in the New King James Version. And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, and that I may not cause pain. Come on now, that I may not cause pain. And so God granted him what he requested. Listen, that I may not cause pain, that I may not trip others nor myself up. Lord, be with me. Lord, I need you to keep your hand on me, guide me, lead me, take care of me, and I can handle it. How many of us, right, when we go back and look at it, could say this is the type of capacity that we're trying to build with the Lord? This is the type of capacity that we're trying to exhibit as we go through our day. What would happen if God enlarged his territory? I believe God would get the glory. I believe God would get the glory. I believe God would somehow be magnified through Jabez. This is part of what we're saying when we talk about capacity. This is part of what we're talking about when we say our lack of capacity or limited capacity is enough for people to see and say, hey, you know what? That guy's got it. That guy's got it going on. He can handle it. He's able to do it. But when we don't, right? When we don't have it together, we can't handle it. When we don't have it together, we can't handle it. We don't have the capacity for it. We don't have the ability to do it. We can't withstand all that. We can't deal with all that. And so Jabez gives us this example here that, hey, despite this prophetic name of pain, despite what I put my mama through, despite what people hear when they hear my name, Lord, I'm coming to you and I'm acknowledging it. That if I can have this from you, and I can have you there with me, I can carry on and carry through without causing pain. I can be a different person if you're with me. And imagine if I'm blessed in this sense, how much more, not only can my life be changed, but my relationship with God be changed. I'm just a closer walk with thee. That's all I need. Just a closer walk with thee. Lord, give it to me and be with me and watch what happens with me. The capacity. Go back to it. The challenge is, do we have the capacity, right, to incorporate a greater amount of compassion to be interwoven into our stewardship? If you enlarge my responsibility, that means I'll have a more influence and more impact. If you enlarge my territory, I'll be more accountable for what I do in dealing with the people that are within that territory, that I come in contact with, that I deal with from day to day. I'll be responsible, God. I'll be responsible, and I'll handle it that way. And so when we talk about it, we're talking about capacity and how we handle it. But if we lack it, if we lack that capacity, or we have a limited amount of capacity, there's only so much we can handle. There's only so much that we can handle from God. And we won't be able to stand before him and say we were able to let brotherly love continue because we were distracted. We were trying to do too many different things, and stuff was moving around, and we got caught up in coveting. We got caught up in not being content. We got caught up in not being satisfied. And so, Lord, will you just bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. And based upon God knowing who he is, who he was, and what capacity he had, God granted him what he requested. God could have rejected it. God could have said no. But God granted him what he requested. There's something about that. There's something about Jabez and who he was and where he was in his life that God granted him what he asked. There's something about him that gives us an example of that capacity of being able to handle more from God, being able to handle much from God, being able to handle a greater responsibility and more accountability expected from God. That's a big difference in what we see in Jabez. Hey, y'all, I want y'all to know this has been great. We're going to be back next week. Jump on in. We're going to be talking about more stewardship. Check it out. Come on in, 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time next Wednesday. God be with you. Peace and love. God bless.